Hi, everybody. This is Lovelyn Bassi, and welcome to another episode of the African Business Woman podcast. Let me start by saying thank you so much, all those who are subscribers, all those who follow us on social media, all those who listen religiously to the podcast, all those who share them. On whatever platform where you get your podcast from, this podcast is available. So feel free to share each and every episode, whichever episode that touches you the most. I'm sure you know somebody who needs that episode. So share it with them. Now, I want to actually talk about our children as African businesswomen. Not all African businesswomen have children. There are some that don't have children yet. Some have children. Some have children by themselves. They are single parents, and others, they have a partner that they have a child or children with, or they have a spouse. And why I said "or" with the partner thing is your spouse is not necessarily a partner. They should be a partner, but in African society, one of the things that we've learned over time is that our spouses are not necessarily our partners, and they don't want to be our partners because of the mentality of superiority that they have been raised with. And it's unfortunate because life is much easier when you work towards things as partners and as one. Because if you talk about oneness, you're talking about equality, so to say, and it's not always equal. And there's nothing that's 50-50 in marriage, I would say, from my perspective, because sometimes one person is 30, the other one is 70, and it changes. It depends on the situation and it depends on the circumstance. In different areas, one person is higher than the other. But overall, if you have a partnership, it works better. And when you don't have this partnership, that's when you find a lot of things arising, a lot of issues, a lot of problems. And one of the things I'm going to talk about today, or the core of what I'm going to talk about today, stems out of that. So let me give you a scenario. And the scenario I'm going to paint to you is this. It's an African businesswoman who is doing her business. And I've mentioned a similar story before where her husband tears her down and says her money is peanuts. But in this other story, in this other woman's story, it goes a little bit further. When people tell us their stories, they tell us up to where they want it to end. And sometimes some other people will go beyond that phase and they'll tell us more things. But we find similar things in the stories that we hear. So this particular lady, husband tearing her business down, saying that it's nothing but chump change. And why is she not at home cooking? Why is she not early home to cook? And why is she not early home to do homework with the kids? Why is she not early home to serve him dinner? Why is she not early home like every day to cater to his needs? And why is she always tired? And he's doing all of this, tearing her down and her business down in front of their children. And I will say right from the beginning that that is a terrible thing to do to anybody, because our children are supposed to look up to us. There's something in the African culture that kind of perpetuates the idea that children are supposed to look up to their father and because he is the man. But over time, we've seen that shift because children are now looking up to their mothers as well, because their mothers are doing business, their mothers are standing up, whether as a single parent, whether it depends on the role models and the influence that they have had. In this lady's story, there's no way that her children can respect what she does for a living, because all they hear is the other person who is supposed to be their mother's biggest supporter and who is supposed to cheer her on, who is supposed to uplift her, tear this thing down and say it is nothing, and say it's chump change, and really tear her down for going out there and doing her business. That is all they see. Now, what that teaches the boys is that, oh, well, you can speak to your wife anyhow in future if you get married. You can speak to her whichever way you want. You can berate her in front of her children, in front of her family, wherever you want. Your money as a man is superior to her money as a woman. These are the examples. These are actually the signals that have been sent to the boys. And Another signal being sent to them is, no, your mother is not a role model. Like, just forget about your mom. What she's doing is just little. Look up to me, the dad. Now, on the other hand, if you have a girl child, what that girl child is witnessing is, oh, it is okay for a man to berate me anywhere, anytime, depending on how he feels. And no matter the business I do, it will not be good enough. And I have to prioritize cooking, cleaning, homework, and every other thing over business because this person is not going to play a role in the household. So these are signals that we're sending to our children, and also to the girl child, we're also saying, well, also you don't, there's no point in being proud of what you do because it's not important. So I want us to be very, very careful in our situations. And I know that some of those situations are essentially waiting to explode. And when you are in the moment where somebody's doing that to you, you don't want to, in most cases, you don't want it to escalate. You don't want it to go to the next level. You don't want this thing to get physical, depending on who it is on the other side is dishing it out. So you take it and you keep quiet. But after that, what then? What then? Do you have conversations with your kids to say, listen, that behavior is not okay. It's not okay for you to do that to a woman. It's not okay for you to receive that from a man. Do you do that? Now, telling your kids what behavior is okay and what is not okay does not mean that you are trying to tarnish that person or speak ill of your spouse. You're essentially telling them the behavior. They're not telling them the person is a bad person. You are speaking to a behavior. And it's all about how you address this thing to your kids. I'm not saying go to your kids and tell them, listen, your dad is a bad person. He's talking to me. He's this, he's that, he's trash. No, 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 that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you address the situation the way he spoke to you with them and say, this is not acceptable. I will speak to him. The reason I did not respond is I did not want the situation to escalate, but I will speak to him later, or I have spoken to him. And of course, when things are a bit calmer, you say to him that, that behavior you're exhibiting, this is what it does to me. This is how it makes me feel. You have to communicate that. And also you have to say, these are the kind of bad examples that those kind of behaviors are setting for the children as well. And I can promise you, I can tell you that a lot of African men in those situations will tell you, oh no, but they know what's best for their children, which is always crap. Because really, from their behavior, you can see that they don't even know what they're doing. They're trying to figure it out, but they're also fumbling around and messing it up. So you have to be very, very, you have to be critical of the situation. You also have to think that if that son of yours experiences all of this toxicity, you are releasing him into the world to go do that to another person's daughter if he gets married. So would you want another person's daughter to be in that situation? Now, if you have a daughter, would you want that to be done to your daughter? You have to think about these things. It's not just saying I want to stay married for the sake of staying married so that my children don't see that don't come from separated. I don't like this idea of a broken home, but separate from a separated family and stuff like that. You have to also look at what is the current situation, the mental state doing to them, because they should be proud of you. Even if you're selling eggs on the roadside, you're boiling eggs and hawking them, they should be proud of you. An African businesswoman is not just one who sells things. A doctor who is running her own practice or running her own rooms, she is a businesswoman. An architect who is running their own architectural firm is a businesswoman. So it's not just buying and selling. Sometimes it's offering of service, and as long as you're calling the shots and you are running it, you are a business person. So don't think that what I'm saying now does not apply to you. No matter what it is that you do, your children should be proud of you. I'm going to give you an example of something that happened to me, and I'm using myself as an example right now. My son we're having a conversation around the counter. All my children were there, and everybody was trying to get dinner and stuff. He was making something else to eat. The other one was heating up his food. I run a household that is kind of relaxed. So we can all eat the same thing, or we can sometimes we don't have to eat the same thing, but you get something from the fridge or something that's cooked and you eat. Occasionally, if they're free to make something else that they want to eat. So I'm a bit flexible on that. And that's because I'm a picky eater. And I know how terrible it was for me growing up, where they made me eat everything they put on the table, even when I didn't want to eat it. So I don't want my children to experience that. I want them to, yes, eat what is in front of them most of the time. But occasionally, I let them also negotiate, okay, I'm going to eat this today, and then I'm going to eat, if I eat what you put in front of me today, can I eat what I want to eat tomorrow? Negotiate their way out of that, so to say. But then I say to them, yes, but you must eat something in the fridge. We negotiate the stuff. Anyway, back to the story. We were talking about my son was saying he wanted something. And I said to him, well, listen, it's not in the budget currently, so we'll have to roll this over to next month. It cannot be this month. And he says to me, yeah, but you are my financial mother. That's why I'm having this conversation with you, because I know that you're going to get it. Maybe not now, but next month. So we're having this conversation. But I smiled because he recognized what I do, that I am a business person, and I bring something to the table, and I bring a lot to the table. He recognizes me as a business person. But it's the way that I have presented myself. I have involved them in what I do. They know what I do. They see how hard I work. If I need to pack teas, and that is part of my business, I tell them, they come around. Sometimes I tell them, come help me. Other times they just come and say, can I help? And they participate in the packaging and all of that because they want to be a part of it. My daughter, every time she has been told to do a speech about an adult's career or whatever it is, she's always insisted that she's going to do it about me. I feel sorry for every great teacher she goes to, because last year she wrote about me. This year now she wants to write about me again. I even offered her other people. I'm like, what about this person? What about that person? Family members. And she's like, no, you are the one I want to interview. So like they are so proud of what I do. And it's not really about, it's the way I've set it up, the way I've positioned myself, the way I have not allowed anybody else's negativity to reflect on what I do, or to take away anything from the work that I put in. I don't let them get exposed to any negative talk, from wherever, but I want them to always see the benefits and the positivity in the business that any family member does. Really, it doesn't just have to be about me, but any of our family members, whether it's their father, whether it's their grandmother, whether it's their uncles, whoever it is, whatever business that person is doing, they should know about it. They should be proud of it. We should speak good of one another's businesses. So it's the way you set it up. What you put into your children matters. What the kind of information you let them take in is what they grow up with. There are things in life that I have conversations with my sons and my daughter all the time, and I say to them, oh, so that happened. How did you feel about that? What do you think about that? And then they tell me how they felt about it. They tell me what their opinion about the situation was. And then I say, okay, what did you learn from that? And then sometimes they say to me, well, for them that's not a good example, and that's not something they would like to do in future. And things like that. Now, somehow all three children want to be business people, and I'm saying to them, you need to study something, something. Not all of you should not go study business administration in school. Maybe study something else, because like people that run their own practices, whether it's a lawyer, whether it's a doctor, whether it's an architect, whether it's a UX designer, whether it's a digital designer, whether it's a creative designer, there's so much stuff, whether it's an actuarial scientist, there's a lot to do these days, whether it's online, offline, there's a lot that they can study and own their own business in that field. So this is what I'm trying to say to them, that listen, there's a lot you can do and still own your own business. You don't have to do exactly what I am doing now, because I want them to open their mind. I want them to see beyond me. And that is the duty of a parent. So I know I've said a lot today about the topic and around the topic that I wanted to focus on today. But ultimately, remember that what you put into your children matters. It's what they grow up with. Don't excuse behaviors. Don't accept behaviors that you don't want them to grow up with. Don't say, oh, they will realize when they grow up that it's not the right way. Listen, a boy who watches his mother get beaten up by his father is very likely to do exactly the same thing to his wife. A girl who watches her father beat up her mother is very likely to get beaten up in her own marriage. So think about it. If you are being talked down to and you are not correcting that behavior from the person who is doing it, and you are not having conversations with your children, that is a problem. I dare say that African parents do not have enough conversations with their children. We should be past this thing of children should be seen, not heard anymore. Have conversations with your children. Find out where their headspace is at. Find out what is going on in their lives. The kind of friends, don't interrogate them. These are things that flow organically. If you call your child in that you've never asked about whether they have a girlfriend or not, and then you suddenly start asking them who's your girlfriend, like they will tell you, they will lie to you straight to your face. So it has to be conversations. You start little by little. Having your kids air their opinion, obviously in a respectful way, and you making sure that they understand boundaries, because it's not about letting them speak and then there are no boundaries. There has to be boundaries. There has to be consequences for everything that they do. This is life. They have to learn both sides. But you have to let them speak so you know your child, and that opens the door for you to, pass messages to them that they can accept into their spirit. So you may not be able to do anything about your situation now because you have chosen that this is your situation and that is where you're going to stay. But you can definitely do something about your children's future situation. Make them proud of you. If you're proud of what you do, your children should be proud of what you do. Don't let anybody take that away from you, whether it's a spouse, whether it's another family member, whether it's your father, whether it's your mother, whether it's your sisters. It doesn't matter who it is. Don't let them take that away from you, and don't let them take that away from your children. Because guess what? Your business matters. You as an African businesswoman, you matter. And nobody has the right to tell you otherwise. I really hope that when you sit with this, you realize that yes, you matter. Yes, your business matters. Yes, your hustle matters. And that you don't let anybody, I'm not saying start a fight, but there are ways around it. You understand your situation. You understand the people around you. You should know your way around it. And if you need help, talk to someone who can help you. But don't let anybody tear you down and tear your business down, because that is not good. You work too hard to let that happen. Thank you once again for listening to this podcast. Please feel free to share it wide and clear. Share it to whoever you want to share it to. It's free. There's no charge to it, but it's available on multiple platforms, including YouTube, actually. So listen to the podcast, and I'll see you on the next one. This has been the African Businesswoman Podcast. Cheers and bye.